New to Medical Device Sales Meetup in Tampa, Florida, September 7th. Come join us where you're going to be networking with other individuals looking to break into medical device sales, with reps that are already in medical device sales that have had success in medical device sales. And it's just a time for community. We have our current and past people from new to medical device sales. They get to meet each other in person. We go over different things we're seeing in the industry, and it's a time for you all to network and meet other like-minded individuals. And this is our time where we make it family-like you're gonna see from past events that we've done. So come, mark your calendars, come learn more about medical device sales, how to stand out, how to break into an amazing industry, and how to be a top performer in medical device sales. If you have any questions, click the link below to find out more information. And I can't wait to see you in Tampa, Florida on September 7th.
Hey everyone, I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for all of the support. Thank you for all of the messages. And I just want to say it's been so much fun to be having all the new people follow us, add us on LinkedIn and all the other socials, New to Medical Device Sales. Our Instagram has actually been blowing up, and it's been fun to meet with all the people that are continuing to follow us, find our channel. I just first off want to say welcome and thank you for the support, and hopefully we continue to provide value that you guys are looking for. And just want you guys to know at any moment, if you do not find me on LinkedIn, it's not because I've left. We actually had an incident the other week where I was just taken off for no reason. And so I make that very known for you all. So if you see me go off, it's not by my choice. And we had to get on some conversations. So if that continues to happen, maybe we won't be on LinkedIn in the future. But the reason I just say that is you can follow me at Jacob McLaughlin or New to Medical Device Sales on LinkedIn. But if you guys can't ever find me, it's not because I ran away. It's just we might be having some difficulties, but you can find us on our other channels. And it's been so much fun. Several people in the last several weeks that we've gotten hired way over 150 in medical device sales. Actually, one of the guests that we will be talking to today has crushed it in his med device sales journey. And you guys are going to be learning a lot from Luis. But if you can share this with somebody you feel like this could be helpful for, it means the absolute world to me. And if you guys can press that like and subscribe button before we get started, it does truly help us. But I want you guys to know my whole goal is to continue to provide value. If you guys are truly wanting to break into medical device sales, you guys can click the link below and we can continue to help you guys learn more about us and what we do. But today's guest is going to help you all so much. He's going to give you a lot of motivation. So let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin. And today I am bringing you all a massive inspiration, somebody who's going to get you guys excited, somebody who's going to make you guys want to work even harder, want to break into medical device sales, because today I get to have this special guest of one of our New to Medical Device Sales members who personally posted on our LinkedIn several months ago with him when he first started his journey, to now being able to share with you all Luis Vidal, who is 48 years young and was able to break into medical device sales with one of the largest medical device companies in the world, well over 6 figures, all while being married with 3 kids. So Luis, welcome to today's show.
Thanks, Jacob. So happy to be here, man.
Oh, man, it is. We were just talking. I'm so excited to have you because last time we had you in this exact same chair talking.
Yep.
You were just getting started.
I was, yeah. Actually, we met for the first time, had a couple phone conversations, but since we both live in the area, decided to meet in person. So, and I remember telling you, like, I'm going to go through this journey and one day I'm going to be sitting here in this chair on your podcast.
And here we are, man. You just manifested it all to make it happen.
I did. Thank you for that, though.
Man, and no, it's thank you to you because, man, I can't wait for everybody to be able to hear your story. Because, Luis, one thing I just want you all to know before we really dive deep into it is you guys will not meet a nicer person. You will not meet a more humble man who is a great husband, father, how he carries himself, and then also just somebody who takes full responsibility of his life and how things are going. And that's one of the best parts of doing what I do, is being able to work with amazing human beings like yourself, and getting also to, even though you are 48 years young, getting to watch you also mature and grow in this division and in this industry. And to now be able to sit here and say you're a full line sales rep with no previous sales experience.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it, Jacob. Yeah. I mean, the feeling's mutual. So So thank you very much.
Of course, man. Yeah. So for the listeners, so we can dive in a little bit for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, kind of like just your background before you even thought about med device sales and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I consider myself a native of both here, the Arizona, Phoenix area. and also Mexico. I was born in Mexico, raised in Arizona. But I went back and forth to my hometown in Mexico at least once a month, pretty much my entire life. Didn't speak English when I came to school here. So I learned English by going to kindergarten and then got taken out of ESL and made some friends. And I'm so fortunate enough to say that the friends I met in first grade are still my circle of friends today.
Come on,
so
man.
Yeah, we do boys trips, every couple months, and it's just so awesome to have those people in my life,
Nice.
And so I grew up here, went to high school, college at ASU, got some work experience. I actually sold electronic components back in Mexico right after college.
Wow.
Yeah, for Ford, Chrysler, GM. Major automotive manufacturers were my clients. So I pretty much cut my teeth in sales, selling electronic components. After that, I got a job with a company called Choice Hotels International. I worked in IT for a while.
Wow.
And while I was doing that, I actually had an inkling to go to grad school. So I wanted to get an MBA. I knew right after I graduated college, I knew eventually I wanted to go get an MBA.
Yeah.
That's just, who I am as a person. I consider myself somebody that constantly learns and an avid reader. And I just love to learn. So I knew that was in my future. So the time came, I went to Thunderbird here in Arizona to get an MBA in international business. While I was doing that, I met an alumni on the side of the rugby pitch. So I played rugby while I was at school there. He used to play when he was at school, but he had this startup that it was a fast casual food brand that was set up. He's based out of LA, but set up to be an international franchise.
Wow.
And long story short, I knew that I wanted to take something back to Mexico.
Yeah.
So I saw it as a really good opportunity to build something and then potentially exit out of it. I took some partners and I did our due diligence. We took the brand down to Mexico, established it, made it from an idea to reality.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's just, it's so easy to say that, but it takes just a massive amount of work.
Yes.
Persistence, luck, grit, resiliency, all the things, and then in order to self-franchise it, to make it grow. So that was a huge experience in my life. And then COVID obviously had its own impact on the brand. And we pivoted, created another business out here in the US, which is thriving now. But back during the COVID time, during 2020, actually, my daughter was born, and she was born right at the beginning of COVID. And we were in the hospital in the NICU for 3 weeks.
Wow.
So that really exposed me to the healthcare and the medical industry.
Yeah.
Got to talk to the nurses, physicians. I even saw reps coming in and out. So that sort of planted a seed and thinking, what, someday I could probably work in that industry. It sounded pretty cool. And then just from that point on, and 2 years later, had another son. Back in that sort of atmosphere, not in the NICU, but, back in the hospital.
Yep.
It's the same thing. That seed sort of just grew a little bit in me, thinking, what, I want it at some point. I don't know how, because I was still involved in my business in Mexico. And I just knew that I wanted to be involved in healthcare. And I saw the impact that it has on people's lives. So I have an aunt that has a medical device implanted. And then last year, I actually, and I think I told you this before, but I tore my Achilles.
Yep.
So I had Achilles surgery. I have a cable implanted in my leg right now. And it's just amazing that through surgical intervention, that the human body is able to really heal and get back to 100%.
Yep.
And I'm living proof of that. And just that had a huge impact on me, because when I got injured in October of last year, I stopped traveling, had a lot of time to sort of do soul searching and figure out what I really wanted to do, because our business was sort of at an inflection point where I started it. I took it to a point where I could naturally take it to.
Yep.
And then because it had some legs on it, I knew that it was time for me to step aside in order for it to grow.
Yeah.
So there's zero ego there. So we hired somebody that had the technical expertise that I didn't, and my team didn't, in order to scale that business. And they're doing great right now. I'm still involved as an investor and a shareholder, which is fine. But, they're taking it to places where I couldn't have myself.
Man, I just want you guys to know, I told you, you're going to absolutely love him. Just from that intro, such a cool intro, man. You have such a wide variety of backgrounds, and going from, IT to franchise and going international and being able to do that. There's so much that comes with it, right? But I think the thing that sticks out to me is something you said really early in there was you just love to learn.
Yeah.
You love to grow. You love to challenge yourself.
Yes.
And for you to be able to, you know, at the age of like, hey, where most people, we were joking about this. I talk to people at like, they're like 28 or 30 and they're like, I think it's too late for me. And I'm like, do you know how long you're on this earth for? Right. To be like, hey, I'm going to continue to keep growing. Yeah. And then for you to have your 2 kids and then you have what you had happen to you for your Achilles, to be like, man, I think I might want to do this. Yeah. This might be something I want to actually do. And so like why I wanted to just touch on that is because most people just stop growing. They stop learning. I've seen that with like most people who like don't make the money they want or aren't in the shape they want. It's like they just stopped. Yeah. They settled. And like the one thing I always just tell our mentees, our people that we work with, even my friends that I'm in an entrepreneur group talking with them, like what I hear all the time is like when people say, oh, I used to, or the business used to. And I'm like, that's the famous last words of every company. Right. It's what's going on? Where's it going? Right. Absolutely. It's skate to where the puck's going. And like why I just love where your head's at is like, you're never looking back. You're like, hey, this is life and I love it, but where can I continue to keep progressing and going? And so you mentioned like, hey, med device sales was a big opportunity for you and you saw that and thought it was something that you could do. Yeah. But really, what was the moment that you were like, okay, you saw our podcast, all our stuff, reached out to me, but what was the moment of you're like, no, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go for med device sales instead of any other thing that you could have done. Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of opportunities presented to me at that point late last year. And I was really praying for clarity. I'm a believer, I'm a man of faith. And I looked at, tech sales. I have a sales background, so not medical, but I figured I could do something with my skill set in sales and have a real impact on a company. So I looked at tech sales just because, it could provide a good living.
Of course.
But just something was missing for me. Like it didn't complete the picture for me. Right. And like I said, that seed that was planted in me years ago started germinating and popping up. And then, I happened to come across your podcast. I saw your content, learned a lot, and I started looking into med device sales. And I was like, you know what, this might be it. This is how I can get involved in healthcare. It's too late to go to medical school. Well, maybe it isn't, but it's just something that I wasn't really willing to do. Yeah. So I said, this is it. So really reflected on it, prayed about it, and really it dove deep. You did your research head first. Absolutely. Contacted you. You taught me about the course, and my wife and I spoke about it and figured, yes, you know what, this is it. This is the path. And every day, just my sense of clarity just grew. And it's this. And I've told you, I've told other people along the my interviewers. I've never felt in my life this sort of sense of clarity that I do now. With something that I want to do professionally, right?
It's so cool, man.
Yeah, so it's awesome to have that feeling, and I feel so fortunate, feel so blessed that it's like that because I've never had that before. Yeah, I've always liked my work, and I've always put my 100% of myself into everything that I've ever done, but it's always just been like, it's work. It's work. Yeah. This has like to be able to really have an impact on somebody's life, on somebody's health, somebody's livelihood. That is huge for me,
dude.
That's huge.
It's what matters, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what just first off, what I have to say to you guys is number one, I'll never forget signing you up. I was actually in San Antonio at a conference for Innovis, and like we had talked prior, and then you're like, I'm ready. And I'm like, all right. Luckily there was a massive break. Nobody was coming. I'm like, hey, you're going to see some conferences, went to a new place. That was like, that's a special moment to remember you getting in then. And you're like, hey, I talked to my wife. We're good. Yeah. All this stuff. And just seeing that trust and that belief in that moment, but knowing that you had done your research. But number two, what you just said is the most important thing is you wanted to help people. You want to make a difference. And that's what I tell everyone. If you guys are just watching this and you're like, I can just make a quick buck, don't do this because it won't be worth it. Just the interview process, what it takes to get here, you're going to be like, well, I could go do this. And the truth is, you could probably go do something else. I've always had this conversation with people. It's like, I've been able to do a lot of cool things, but there will never be anything like a doctor hugging you and saying, you're the reason that patient's alive.
That is awesome.
And it's like, that's what people miss here,
Yeah.
right? When you're getting to sell a device, like even for me when I was at Innovis, it was so cool. I'm selling surgical training, knowing that every resident I'm working with and every doctor that I'm working with, I'm making that procedure better for them for the next patient they work on.
Absolutely.
And it's just knowing that you're making that difference. And that's where, you know, like people always ask me, hey, why didn't you go in other careers? And I'm like, yeah, I could have gone real estate. I could have gone, you know, other sales roles. But it was the same thing of like, I wanted to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And knowing that you can, like, that's why I always look at med device sales as like the win-win-win. It's like you get to win because you actually get to make a difference in somebody's life. You get to win because you're actually doing good in the world. And then lastly, you win because you can financially change your own life if 100%. You do a well enough job, right? Yeah. And so I just wanted to touch on that because the fact that, yeah, you could do a lot of things with your background. There's a lot, but the fact that you're like, no, I actually want to do something that it's like, I not only can support my family and do that living and be with my family because of the work-life balance, but also I want to actually just make a difference in a person's life.
That's it.
That's the biggest driver that people have to have. And it has to be genuine, right?
Yes, 100%. There's no sense in really faking it or, you know, telling your interviewer that something that is inauthentic.
Yep.
Because, you know, sooner or later, probably sooner, you're not gonna like it.
Well, this is the thing. A couple things to that. Number one, they're in sales. They can usually tell when you're lying.
Yes.
You know, that's like most people can be like, oh, you're just so genuine, right? Like you can just feel it. Like you don't even have to see it. You just feel it. Number one. Number two, though, is like that. This is why I teach in our program and like what we do is like, stop trying to fake it and be someone you're not because it's like dating. What happens when you lie about who you are? 2 months, at some point, they're going to figure it out and you're now the liar.
It's just a mess.
And it's not going to work out anyway.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's just the truth and like exactly what you're saying. It's just being you. Yeah. And that's why it's like, you guys can already see why it's easy to like Luis and like why he does it. But what I also want to just touch on is two things real quick is number one, like we said, there's so many people I talk to that they're like, I'm 28, I'm 30, I'm 32, 33. It's too late. I can't change. You're 48 and you're like, no, I'm going to make the change. And when I tell people when I was telling them like, I got Luis going through interview processes, he's 48. They're like, wait, what?
Exactly.
Because they can't believe it. And so can I just have you kind of talk about that for a second? And then also with that question is like, you were also married with 2 kids and it's not like they're all grown. Three kids, but 2 kids that are younger. Yeah. And it's like what people miss is like, it's not like you're like, they're all in high school and you're just like, see ya. No. Right. And so can I just have you kind of have that conversation of like, hey, being 48, being married with kids, what was that like being able to like, I'm going to make a change. I think med device sales is it. And then also like, hey, I'm going to invest in myself into a program. Can you kind of just explain that? Because I know there's a lot of people in that exact same shoes, 30, 32, 38, 41, that they're like, maybe it's too late for me, but it's not. And I want you just to share your experience.
Yeah. First and foremost, it's never too late to reinvent ourselves. Never.
Come on.
You know, there's so many stories of, you know, big time CEOs that it reinvented themselves at 50, 60, even 70.
Yep.
You know, so it's just a number really.
Yep.
So I didn't even consider the fact that I was above 30, 40, you know? Yep. So when I just knew that I wanted to do this. So, you know, speaking to my wife, my kids, my family, and really explaining the process to them and what I wanted to do in the next phase of my life, you know, we're all in agreement. Yeah. And really, I'm fortunate to have a family that they support me no matter what. Yeah. You know, and you know, my wife, same thing with my wife, whatever she wants to do, you know, I fully support her. So having that, you know, sort of mutual support for each other is massive. You know, it's just something that my life would be a lot different without. So so at 48, you know, I like I said, I prayed for clarity. I wanted to do something that was really impactful. Like I got before actually I injured myself, I started getting into longevity and, you know, extending my life as much as possible, living a life full of energy, vigor, vitality. Yep. And the reason why is because my 2-year-old, my son Nico, who's 2 years old now, he was born with Down syndrome. So luckily, I mean, and thankfully, he's very healthy. He's a rambunctious tornado hurricane of a kid, and is absolute tank. And it's just, you know, I don't know what his future looks like. Yeah. So that's why I but I really took a deep dive into my own health. Yep. And like right now at 48, I feel healthier than I did at 28.
Well, I'm just going to sit here and tell you you're about ripping your shirt sleeves right now. If you guys can't tell, shucks, the veins pumping, and I'm hoping I can just be half that shape at your age, man. Like, cause you look great, but it shows.
Well, I mean, there's a reason behind that. I mean, it's not just for image. It's because I really want to be healthy. Yeah. And that that parlays into my career too, because I want to be the healthiest version of me that I can.
Yep.
I want to have an impact on others doing the same.
Yeah.
And the way I can do that professionally is through med device sales.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm actually in a role that I found that is perfect for me, thanks to your help and your coaching and your mentorship, that allows me to have that impact.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, like, this is actually where I really feel like it's a win-win-win-win.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we get to be health professionals, and the fact of like, yeah, I'm not back to personal training, but it's like you are in the health field, and then you actually get to have impact on other human beings because they see how you're living.
Yeah.
They see how you show up. They see all that stuff. While, like, again, some of the people we work with, nurses, scrub techs, doctors,
Yeah.
they don't get that time
Yeah.
because they're doing other stuff. But then, like, you can be an encouragement. That happened to me. Like, I would walk in and they'd be like, how do you stay fit?
Yeah.
It's like, and like, that's one thing. If you guys go watch my YouTube days in the life of a rep, I'm literally flying. I'm like only getting 6-7 hours of sleep, but it's like, I'm working out in the hotel room, or it's like 9 o'clock. I still remember when I went to New Mexico, it's 9 o'clock. I'm working out. Then I go grab Chipotle right before it closes. And then I'm at a surgery center at 6:30 a.m. Right. It's like, but people notice that kind of stuff and just where you're going. And so it goes back to, you're not only wanting to help people, but it's like you said, it's not just the looks. And that's what I think a lot of people miss, is like when you do the exercise, the eating well, all that stuff, it's everything else that comes in it.
Yes. It has all these ancillary effects.
Yep.
And it's just, life is so much better when you feel good.
Come on.
Right?
That's it, man.
Yeah. You can do so much more, and you're able to inspire others. So my circle of friends saw this sort of transformation that I was going through. And even with like a walking boot, having recently had surgery, I was getting healthier.
Yeah.
And some friends actually started working out with me.
Come on.
And talking about diet, nutrition, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had an immediate impact on my circle of friends too.
And the best part to that is then guess who also saw you break in at 48 and do something new and do something. It's like your whole circle, and you're going to be, that's why I wanted to make this podcast, is to your circle, but like to the people right now that are going to watch this and listen to this, it's like, that's an encouragement to them, right? Because whether they're 25, 28 thinking, I get really big on this because I talked to so many kids that their parents told them, oh, you have to have your life. And the biggest lie is you have to have your life figured out at 30, because guess what? I mean, a lot of guys that are 60, 70, they still don't have their life figured out. I talk to them every time. Like, one of the most successful guys I ever trained just did very well financially. And I'll just be like, so how's the life going? And he's like, still trying to figure it out. And I'm like, what do you mean? You already pretty much figured it out. He's like, we never ever figured out,
exactly.
Right? But just being able to do what you did, be able to show, and now you're showing up for your, not only yourself, your family, but your other circle.
Yeah.
Like, that's just massive. And I just want to applaud you on that, number one, because like, that's such a cool part. But also I want people to see, like, you're not here to make excuses. You're not here to be like, oh, I can't do this. What I do want everyone to hear is your why.
Yeah.
Not only was it to help med device sales, but like when you bring up your son and you bring up your family, like I've said this to people all the time. Like, everyone's always asked me, like, Jacob, how'd you be able to do this? Or why'd you do this? And I've made this always really clear, is like, it can't just be about you.
Yeah.
Because if it's just about you, at some point you will quit.
Yes.
But if you always are thinking about other people, why you're doing it, it's what people don't understand. It's like, it's when you have to climb the 10 more feet, push another mile, go another mile.
Do an extra set. Yeah.
That's it. It's what makes you get better.
Yeah,
and like for you, it's even like this, the interview process, right? One more interview, one more company, one more phone call, one more message, right? Going through that. So like, that's an amazing why. And I want people to hear that, is like, again, don't just sit here and get on a call with me and tell me, oh, my why is I want to help people, but you don't really mean it. And then you just are like, no, it's about the money, right? You have to be genuine. You have to know what you're going after, because that helps you have a crystal clear target that you're going after.
Yeah.
And for you, that's what I want to talk about now, is kind of make that shift of you're here in Arizona, right? So you're now don't have the perfect experience they're looking for.
No.
You're over the age of 30, right? You're not the young person
I'm not the college graduate. Yeah. That's typical. Yeah.
And now it's like, and you have a family, and we had the conversation of like, hey, there is the opportunity. It could take a little longer.
Yeah.
And the reality of the truth is, it did take longer. It wasn't our average that you guys say 8 weeks. And I always make this really clear. The average is the average. It's not like every person, number one. And number two, I just make this clear, is like, we always say, because Luis is a perfect example, everyone who gets on a call, they're like, oh, I'm going to beat the 5 weeks or the 6 weeks or whatever it is. But my whole conversation is, I don't care if it takes you 16 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you get what you need in 5 years from now, you're not going to worry about it. And like for you, there was a job originally that you would have to be there for another 2 years before you even could think about what you're about to make now.
Yep.
And now you're there because you waited an extra week and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just want to kind of talk about that as like, we talked about how you had to be more strategic because again, you are here in Phoenix and it did take a little bit longer because again, you also have a family, you have a house, like you just couldn't uproot.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the get-go, I mean, I heard, the average is 8 weeks and all that sort of stuff. But I knew it from the beginning. I was like, you know what? That doesn't matter to me really because my life is my life and everybody else is on their own path.
Yep.
So first and
Preach
foremost,
that one real quick.
I was ready if the right opportunity presented itself to start, pretty much immediately. But I did have life happening, family, tie up the transition in my business and all that.
Yep.
And I just knew that I didn't want just any role, right? I wanted to break in, but I needed to find the right position for me, as we were talking about earlier, right? So it started, I took the course, started with everything that you teach, networking, that was massive. So it didn't matter to me, like some days I could make some calls and some days I could connect with some reps and some days I couldn't.
Yep.
So my personal journey was, it took a little bit longer than 8 weeks, but I was perfectly fine with that.
Yep.
Luckily, I wasn't in a rush or anything to, life was good, taken care of, so.
Yep. And what we talk about, I always have this conversation. This is where people always miss it, right? They're like, I got to get in the fastest. And it's like, you actually have the power when you aren't in a rush.
Yeah.
And like, this is like why I talk to our nurses or other people, like, because nurses are always the funniest. Nurses think the moment they join us, they quit their job that day. And I'm like, no, you still go to work the next day. Yeah. But the power is like when you don't have to take something, like I want to put this out there for people to hear. If you're making $80,000 and you get a job offer for $60,000, you don't need to take the $60,000 because you're already making 80 and you can just tell them you got a job offer for more money.
Yeah.
So like that, I know that's mind blowing to most people, but like, that's what we say. But like for you, like, right, you weren't in a ruch. You're like, hey, we're going to make sure it's the perfect time. And so that's why I just wanted to touch base on is like, okay, you didn't have to take it because you were taking, you had to make sure it was the right fit for you.
Absolutely. And, I got in a couple interview processes and, regardless, I just wanted the experience of actually interviewing because quite honestly, I hadn't interviewed in like 14 years.
Yep.
I didn't have to interview, so a typical job interview, right? I mean, obviously, when you're in sales, you're sort of interviewing in one way or another, whatever product you're selling, right? A formal interview. Yeah. It'd been 14 years since I'd interviewed. So I just wanted to get into a process just to get the practice and, went down that process and I was extended an offer, which I was very grateful for.
Yep.
And I, I would have taken it, but I just knew in my core that it probably wasn't the right fit for me.
Yep. And
sooner or later I would have had to have let, the team down due to family obligations, because family obviously comes first.
Always.
Yeah. So, kept on going through the process, trusting the process and actually, continuing to network, not only network by phone, by LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff, but my aunt that I mentioned earlier, she's involved in the Movement Disorder Foundation of Arizona.
Wow.
They had an event out in Fountain Hills and she invited me to it because she knew I was looking.
Yep.
So I went to that event and there was, different device companies, they had a table and they're giving away their pamphlets and their informational stuff. And then a couple physicians and made a presentation, about Parkinson's.
Yep.
And, but the purpose to go there was to go meet reps in person.
Yep.
And it was at that day, at that event, where I met somebody from the company that I got offered.
Come on, man.
She took my information. We hit it off. We had a great, 15-minute conversation in person.
Yep.
And she connected me with somebody who connected me with somebody who connected me with somebody.
The dominoes, baby.
And the rest is history.
Come on.
Yeah. And it was with that same company.
See, and this is what I want people to hear is like, they're like, oh, but I sent 3 messages, Jacob, or I reached out to somebody. And it's like, people will look at that and they'll be like, oh, if I only had the chance, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you want it because like, for example, you put yourself in the position to be successful, which is number one. I want everyone to hear, like, you didn't have to go to that event.
No.
Right. But you're like, hey, this could be a great thing for me. And then you didn't have to talk to that human being either.
Yeah.
But you put yourself out, you were authentically you. And then because you knew what to do and like how to have conversations, it just led to one, to the next, to the next, which kept going. And then you were prepared enough to be ready for those positions. And what I want everyone to hear right now is because you went for a full line rep role, it wasn't an associate making 60, 70K. It was well over six figures, going for a full line rep role, having a territory, having an actual quota. And I tell people, when you're going for that plus 100, 150 above, you got to be looked at as peer to peer.
Yes.
It can't be like, and that's what people miss is like, hey, I'm taking jobs at 50, 60K. Well, yeah, because that's why they're up here and you're down here, and you guys are the silly gooses getting on a call with a regional manager and be like, can you tell me what your job's like? Yeah. It's like, you wonder why you're getting paid 50K and you're like, guys are complaining, right? You don't even do your own research and learn. But it's like, you're coming in and you're having conversations with these people and they're like, Luis is a switch. Like he switched on. He knows what he's doing. And it's like, that's what I want to talk to is like, not only are you out there hustling and putting yourself in that position to be successful, but it's because you knew what to do and be prepared on how to continue to go through the process that you were able to continue the domino effect of one to the other, to the other, to the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I met this person at that event. She connected me with somebody who she said, reach out to this person, email and send me your resume, which I did. Didn't hear back from him for about 2 weeks, but in between I messaged him again. You got to be persistent.
Follow up.
And then on the second week, he messaged me and he said, you know what? Thanks for sending this. Unfortunately, we don't have any positions available right now, but check back in 4 to 6 months and we might have something. Yeah. Within 3, and I was actually writing my response, thank you very much, this, that, and the other. And he messaged me again. He's like, hey, what are you doing this afternoon? This was like, I don't know, 10 in the morning. I said, I'm available. I said, why don't we go meet in person this afternoon at such and such place? We did. So he actually, casually interviewed me.
Yep. Which it's always an interview, my friend.
It's always an interview. Yeah. Yeah. And we hit it off, man. Same thing. It's supposed to be a 30-minute conversation, turned into like an hour. And he's like, you know what? If I had a position on my team right now, I'd hire you, which, it's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he didn't. But he's like, what I am willing to do is help you. Look at our site.
Yeah.
Look for other positions that may be open that you might be interested in, and I'll advocate for you.
Wow.
So I was able to win him over as an advocate.
Yep.
And that turned out to be huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
Right.
So I found a position that that had just opened up here in Phoenix, because as you mentioned before, I wasn't in a position to relocate.
Yep.
It had just opened up. I messaged him about it, and he said, talk to this person. And then talk to that person, and that person was the VP of the division.
Not a bad person to talk to right away.
Yeah. And he put me in the interview process. And a week later, I was talking to the recruiter, then the hiring manager, the regional sales manager, and the interview process just went on.
Absolutely love it, man. It's crazy the networking, the dominoes, and again, just being ready. And this is what I want to hear from that story real quick. The amount of human beings who come to me and they're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to break into med device sales. And then you have someone like that say, what are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah.
And the amount of human beings that say, well, I was going to go to the gym.
Exactly.
Or like, I was going to go eat dinner with my friends, and they skip it. And then they're the same people be like, I can't break in.
No, I had something to do that day. Yeah. Actually, that Saturday where I went to the event, I had a full Saturday booked.
Yep.
But, I know that I really wanted this.
Yep.
So I made some sacrifices.
Where's your priorities?
Absolutely.
And this is what I want everybody to hear right now, because everyone, I say this when we were talking off air, but like, everyone tells me they work hard. Everyone tells me they want it. Most of you don't. Yeah. Most of you want the life that you think this is. Most of you want the money that you think it is, but you actually aren't that committed as you think, right? And then what you guys listen to my podcast and you learn is you're like, oh, you have to be that committed?
You have to do the work.
That's really what it takes?
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, and what I just want everyone to hear is like, Luis was all in, burned the boats. He's doing this compared to most of you, and why people don't have success in just life, not med device sales, just in life.
Just life in general.
1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yeah. Well, I don't have to feel as bad about myself if I'm not doing as much work, or if I kind of try, or I sent out 5 messages, but no one got out to me. So I guess I tried, right? Yeah. Compared to, you weren't trying. You were going to make it happen. It's just, when was it going to happen?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I knew that deep down inside. It's just a matter of time.
Yep. And then, so I want a little bit go into what I want people to know is Luis gave me an amazing call when I was in Venice. If you guys haven't, you guys can go back and watch the vlog when I'm there. But again, I mention it, but I get a call from Luis, and he has a med device company that offered him. Yeah. And why I want to bring this up is because it was for originally an associate role.
It was, yeah.
And it was way less than what he's accepted right now. Yeah. And the reason I say that is he is such a hustler. He's like, I'm willing to take it, but I also just found out I might have the opportunity for the role you now have.
Exactly.
And this is the whole conversation was like, do I even take it? Because it's way more money and it could change my life and it would be a way better position. But I already said yes to these guys. And my conversation was, yes, keep going with the process. Yeah. And the reason I want to share that with you all is because for some reason it's demonized to be like, oh, keep your options open because you said yes. And again, I believe, yes, your word is all you have, but I want you guys to all understand these are the same companies that, like, for example, I was just telling you, one of the massive companies out there right now, they're having a little downturn. They just stop paying their reps commission. Yeah. So the same reps that are working for this person working for the company, doing all the work, and the company's like, we're going to take care of you, now aren't even taking care of them because they stopped paying their commissions. But yet you guys will be like, well, because of this, I have to do it. And it's the reality of it is like, if you went to any other human being and said you could make $100,000+ right now and possibly work less, would you take that job? And I always make this really clear. If anyone says no, they're a liar.
Yeah.
Like that is, let's just be real clear. They're a liar or they're a big silly goose who like has more ego to be committed than to go do something. And so that's why I told you to take it. And it actually got to the point where you ended up taking it, but you got into the opportunity of before the start date, you actually learned that you were the number one candidate for this position and you were able to stop it. Can you just kind of share that experience? Because I want people to hear why I told you to do that. Because I'll just so you know, I'll put it out there. I'll have some ortho reps or somebody be like, you suck, you're all this. What? But the reality of it is like, you guys are the same ones who will have commissions not paid out to you. Yeah. You're the same people that will go and then, oh, they're talking about recession. How long till you're fired? Yeah. Right? The company loves you till they don't. The company loves you till they need to make cuts for the world. Exactly. Right? So can I just have you kind of speak to that and where your mind process was when I told you that? Because I know it's not an easy thing to hear when you're going through it.
No, yeah. I mean, I got into the interview process fully realizing what the role was, thinking, you know what, I'm gonna interview for this associate role as if I'm interviewing for the CEO role.
Yep, come on.
You know, I put everything into it. And it was a process of 7 interviews. Luckily, I got through them all. I kept on closing the interview as you teach us and moving on to the next step and hire people in the food chain. When the interview process was over, I had started the other interview process with this company. But the other company did extend an offer, which I was very grateful for. Yep. And just timing was at a point where, you know, I had to make a decision and I wasn't far along in the second interview process yet. So I knew that we go back to what we talked about earlier. I just wanted to be in medical device sales. That was my main objective.
And you're willing to take whatever role you needed to.
Yeah. If I had to sacrifice, sure, I would do that because I know that, you know, within a year I would bust my butt and be somewhere else.
Yep.
You know,
Come on.
And, you know, I just knew that was a reality.
Yep.
So I was willing to do that. But luckily, you know, things played out. The second interview process went very well. And I just kept praying and really preparing myself and just more and more clarity as to what I needed to do. We had our conversation. Yep. And timing just worked out perfectly.
Impeccable. Literally where you found out that you were the number one candidate was right before you needed to start. Exactly. So you were able to put it in so you didn't even have to start.
Exactly.
And then now you got this role. Yep. And so the reason I'm just saying is like, even though it is tough because everyone we work with is such sweet human beings and they're like, well, I don't want to waste their time. And I'm like, just so you know, this same company that you're not wanting to waste your time, they just ghosted 4 people to give you that job.
And you know what? When I declined, you know, I was nervous about making that call because just like you said, you know, we don't want to let anybody down.
Yep.
I was nervous about it, but I said, you know what? This is what I need to do. This is my authentic self.
Yes.
So I just went in with the mindset of, you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth because this role, I don't want to let you down in the future because of a family obligation or something. And I know that might be a reality. So and guess what? They absolutely supported me. They said the person that hired me said, "You'll never the quote." You'll never lose when you put family first. That was his quote.
Come on.
Yeah.
Man, I just want you guys to hear this. I want you to hear this because we've talked about my older podcast. I've literally got deals done that I thought I was about to go get kicked out of a hospital. I went and was like, I messed up. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And they're like, we want to buy $30,000 more worth of stuff.
There you go.
And it's like, why? And the reason I say that is because of what you just did. When you do stuff, you just have to do it to the best of your ability. Yeah. And you are honest, you're truthful. And so, you know, when you lay your head down on the pillow at night, you did the right thing.
Yes.
And we can't we can't dictate the reaction of the other person, because that same conversation could have been you getting called names, wasted our time, screw you, all that stuff. But thankfully you were with a mature human being. And why they were so thankful, because if you saying that, they're like, you just made my life easier, because that would have been harder 4 months from now, 8 months from now, when I really do like you, but now the teams and stuff, and it's you being self-aware. And so like, that's what I just want to put out there for people. It's why we always talk about being genuine. And if you do the right thing, literally just made a podcast right before this about relationships with first year in. And it was literally just talking about the relationships matter. And like, same thing with me. I got my first job offer, but it was in Atlanta for $65K with Zimmer. And I was going through 3 full line rep role, or I was going through 3 opportunities here in this area. And one was a full line rep role. I just was open with him. I said, thank you so much. It means the world that you're the first person to ever give me an offer. And I will never be able to thank you enough. But with the opportunities I have currently going on right now, I'm going to pursue this.
Absolutely.
And his comment was, totally get it. So happy for you. And please stay in touch, because you never know where it goes in the future. And that's what all these people say. You never know where it goes in the future. And the reason I just want to state that is because of how you handled it. And then I'll never forget the call and the text message you sent me afterwards. You now took a position that you are going to work way less. You're going to make way more and spend way more time with your family. And that's when I got chills. And I literally just am like, it makes me smile, because it's like why we do what we do.
We mentioned before, it was the right position for me. In my circumstance, in my situation, what I needed in my life and my family's life, it manifested and it became a reality.
And it's because you put in the work. And I just want you guys to know that, like, people will always say like, hey, thanks for your program. Thanks for what we do. But the reality of it is you guys do the work. You guys do it. And I get the opportunity to watch amazing human beings go make their dreams and dreams a reality, and just continue to be able to help you. And so I just want everyone to hear and see, like, Luis is literally the result of him believing in himself, investing in himself. And what I want you guys to hear is the language he uses is not if it happened. He knew it was going to happen.
Exactly.
It just was a matter of when. And you just kept putting in the work every single day. And let me just say this. And some days you might not have been able to, because you had family, you had kids, you had stuff. But that's why we make it self-paced. And you do it at your own time, because this is when it works best for your life. And then you were able to format it. And now you're in one of the best industries in the world, making well over 6 figures with a full line rep role that most people can't get even after 2 or 3 years. We have people listening to first year in. They've been in this associate role for 3 years. And you got it in your first try. And it might took a little longer than 2, 3, 4 months, but like, now you don't have to wait another 2, 3 years to get to that point.
I mean, everybody's story is different. I'm just grateful, humble, and just honored, really.
You're super humble, man. And I love that about you. So. And I want to just ask one quick question before we go to the end is, you talked with your wife, you prayed with your family about joining our program. And I always just ask, what was the moment for you to be like, okay, I trust this guy? Because the reason I say this is I know a lot of people watch this and they're like, man on the internet has a program. I don't know. But like, what I want you guys to know is like, the reason I do these podcasts with our real people who took our program, why you can go onto our website, see hundreds of testimonial videos, is because I know I can tell you all the things, but it's me saying it and you guys will never believe me. It's the other people. That's but true. Like, there's somebody in your shoes right now who's watching this and being like, I don't really know. And my whole conversation, what was that? Because you were in that same shoes.
A few months ago. Exactly. Yeah.
And what was the thing that was like, all right, I know this is an investment in my future. I believe I will get the return on investment, which hopefully you believe you got the return on investment now.
It's already done. Absolutely.
So with that, but what was like the conversation with your wife, or like, what did that look like for you to be like, okay, I'm going to trust Jacob. I'm going to join you in the medical device sales program and I'm going to do this. It didn't take a long time from like the day I saw of your first podcast to when the day you and I had a conversation and I signed up. In those, 4, 5, 6 days, I just dove deep into it. And I saw all your, not just your med device, but like your workout content too. Because I like the
to exercise.
Old stuff, man.
But that, I think I told you this before too, that like really created this sense of your authenticity because it shines, it comes through, right?
Thank you, man.
And I actually signed up for the program before you and I met in person. So it was all based on our phone calls and me, going through your content. And then just like, looking on LinkedIn and seeing testimonials and seeing, people with various levels of experience, different ages, mostly, almost everybody younger than I was, but that didn't make a difference. Like I said, age doesn't mean a thing to me. I don't know the exact moment, but it just throughout the days, like the sense of authenticity from you, like just culminated and it peaked. I said, you know what? Yeah, this is it. This is the right one. I just stopped looking at that point, and I talked to Megan, and we just said, you know what? I just said, this is something that I'd really like to do. Is this something that that you would support, that we can do, and for obviously for our future?
Yeah.
And 100% yes. So it was your authenticity that came through the videos and the phone calls that really convinced me that this was the right investment for me. And I'm a person. I mean, I've been an athlete my entire life.
Yeah.
I love coaching. I love to be coached.
Yep.
I love participating in team environments.
Yep.
Also, in endurance sports and all that sort of stuff. But even in solo sports, I still hire coaches.
Yep. Exactly. Same here, man.
Triathlon, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Because there's always people that have been there, done that, and there's no sense in delaying or reinventing the wheel, doing it on our own.
Yep.
Yeah. Because like the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far,
go together.
Go with the team. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just very grateful that. And I believe, there was a divine intervention that sort of led me down this path.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Like we're both big in our faith,
Yes,
and like, that's the thing is like, I just want to share that to you guys. It's like, this is what's actually the most cool for me is like, I just want you guys to know every single day, every single week. And it's a scary prayer that I pray because coming from nothing, like having no money, putting groceries back, I'm at a point of, I always surrender. And every day I pray to God, I say, hey, if this is where you want me, keep showing me this is where you want me. At any moment you don't want me here, you make it clear and I'm out. Because I'm going to just trust and follow you. But then every day I get to meet amazing human beings like yourself that he brings me. And it's like, it just continues to show me, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And I'm so thankful for it. And it's like to continue to watch people like yourself. And I sit here and tell my team, and I get to even just tell my family, like, I get to meet the coolest human beings, greatest men, greatest people that are driven. They want what I want too. And they just want to be good human beings. And so that's what I'm like so blessed to have is like, to your point is like, it was definitely God who did this. And I'm always very open and I believe everybody can believe what they believe. I'm always going to share what I believe.
Yes.
But I just want you to know, like, that's probably the coolest part is like when I pray that prayer, the people he keeps bringing me and the success we keep having me and knowing and understanding, not one piece of it's me.
Yeah. And it's just so motivating and it just adds to our enthusiasm and our like zest for life, right? Just want to go out there and just, like, I feel like I could run through a brick wall, at my age.
Dude, you can, man.
But that's just the energy and like the vitality that I get, that resonates from you and from everybody else that, we surround ourselves with.
100%. This is one thing, and like, just so you know, like you guys can know is like, I remember like we were talking about kind of reflecting. And one of the moments I had was, about 7-8 years ago, I remember being in my car at 4 a.m. reading my Bible before I went to go do strength and conditioning intern where I had under $1,000 to my name. I was going through family stuff. And I just remember praying in that moment. I was like, just take me where you want me to be. And I promise I'll be a good shepherd. And I remember ever since that day, man, I've always been like, I just want to be a light to somebody. That's it. When I was a personal trainer, I got so many clients, not because I was the best trainer. I just was, I loved them. I was happy to see them. And I just always understood. It's what I tell people now. And I still have to remind myself now as we grow business, I have a lot of stress that comes in, but it's like my conversation with you might change your whole day.
Yes.
Me smiling when we go out to eat might change that someone's whole day. Me opening the door and it's just being like, how can I make a difference in these people's lives? And like, also the last thing I just want everyone to know is like, also for me coming from a place of abundance. Everyone's like, oh, aren't you scared of this? Or aren't you worried about these people or this competition? And like the just honest to God truth is I don't believe I have any competition because I'm not trying to compete or be like anybody else.
Absolutely.
I just want to focus on our people and our mission and our vision with our human beings. And like the best is like watching you get hired as a full line rep, knowing that you have your 3 kids, that you're now going to be home with them. You're going to support your family and you're going to be the best husband and father that you can be while making a difference in people's lives with what you sell.
Absolutely.
It's the freaking best, man.
That's what life's about, man.
It's all it's about, man.
We're blessed.
We're super blessed. And I would just love to, let's bless some other people for the fact of, I always ask people, there's going to be a lot of people who see this and then they're going to be like, oh, I got to reach out to you. And like, I always just make this clear. We are so blessed to have so many nice human beings in our life and in our world that come here. But I always just make it really clear of like, guys, they're now in med device sales. My goal is for them to be successful in med device sales. Like I can just tell you, like with Ben, we just had it. I talked to him. He's like, dude, a bunch of people just added me and they're messaging me already. And I love that. And I know you guys do that and you listen to it. But at the end of the day, I literally tell them, don't take those messages. And let me tell you why. I'm not trying to be mean or be rude. It's Ben's now in training for the next 3 months. And he's also a husband and a father. And like I said on our last podcast, I would much rather him spend time with his kids and his family than getting on a call with somebody who's going to watch one episode and then call them. And it's the same for you. Is like, I want you to be able to share advice, but like, guys, just so you know, I don't want it to be like, you can add Luis and go talk to him. Like,
sure,
don't blow him up and be like expecting him to get back to you. Cause like, he's starting a new job. He's a full line rep, for goodness sake. And he's married and has kids and wants to be a dad and has friends. Like the question I always ask, because I know it's coming anyway, is, Luis, what advice would you give somebody, whether they have sales experience, they don't have sales experience? What would your advice be for breaking into medical device sales? Because you've lived it and you now have done it.
Yeah. First and foremost, really, really know your why, because that is what you build your base from, right? That is your base, and you build everything else off of that. If you don't have clarity, do whatever you need to do to find it. Yeah. Take the time you need to find it, and just trust the process, and it'll come. It'll come. And on top of that, once you do have that, you got to network your butt off.
Get going.
Yeah, you got to do it. Everything you teach in the course, I mean, put into play. Don't just, listen and learn. You got to put everything into action. And you got to do, like you say all the time, you got to do the work. Do the work. Do the job to get the job.
Come on, baby.
That's it.
You know what's the best part is we've been saying this for 3-4 years now. I now see people on LinkedIn saying like, what I always say is do like, and I'm like, I wonder where you heard that one from. But
totally.
But no, you're 100% right. And just to your guys' point is even the networking part, people hear us say, and almost every guest says it, right? But what most people miss is they do it wrong. Hey, I want to pick your brain. Hey, I just want to learn, right? And that's one thing we try to really teach you guys is like, how do you do it the right way so somebody does give your number to someone else?
Well, you got to consider, at some point you are going to get an offer. You are going to be working in the industry. And after that, it's about really adding value, right?
Yes.
So you're right. Don't just I never use the word, I don't like that phrase, pick your brain, So,
thank you. It's like you learned in our course or something.
I know.
And you guys, and just so I can make this really clear, you know why I say that? I saw a message from 2020. Guess who used pick your brain in one of their messages?
Did you?
Me. Guess who didn't get a response in that message, right? And so
it's so easy, right?
Yeah, and it's what we all think, right? And I still hear it, but I still, because again, going back to when you're not knowing, you think it's just, hey, chill, but you're in a professional setting trying to get jobs over 6 figures. If you think pick your brain's the best way to start a conversation, right? And that doesn't show, because again, guys, I just hope you know from the networking piece, these reps get hundreds of messages a year. And you just saying you pick your brain is like, now I'm going to go waste my time. Like we've just had 4 people in the last week say, I got an interview because they were so excited that I actually was prepped, and they were so impressed by me because I actually had questions.
Absolutely.
And I ran the conversation that they got me in touch with the regional manager from that.
That's it.
Compared to most of these people watching this are like, so tell me about your job. And they bring nothing to it. And then they just want somebody to be an encyclopedia and teach them everything.
If you can find something, as one little tidbit or some point to add value to that rep's, job, life, whatever it may be. And it may be personal, maybe professional, whatever, but just something that you can bring to the table instead of just taking.
And it could just be a conversation that they actually enjoyed because they've had a sucky day.
100%.
That's what people miss, right? Like for you, like you related with a lot of people because of who you are, and people got your energy. And that's one thing I would just say is like, you guys can feel the energy coming off of Luis, and like people talk to you and they're like, man, I just felt good after talking with him, and I might have had a rough couple days.
I mean, you can convey enthusiasm on a phone call. It's so easy.
Come on, man.
While you're talking, just, stand up, walk, and most importantly, smile when you make these phone calls.
Man.
Smile.
Yep.
Because that just changes the whole energy of the conversation.
I tell people all the time, every call I was on, I acted like it was an interview. And in my head, I was like, I'm sitting in front of these people because again, going back to practice what you want to practice like you play, right? Like if I'm doing this and having these conversations, sometimes I was looking at myself in the mirror, why I'm having these phone calls, so I could see my facial expressions because I knew I want to always have the mirror and I want to be on a call. Sometimes I would be in front of a person. Your facial expressions, your body language is going to say a lot about you as well as you're having these conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it does go a long way, but man, I'll just tell you, this has been one of my most fun podcasts.
Oh, man. It's such a pleasure, Jacob. Thank you so much.
Dude, no, thank you. And I just want you to know, again, going back to how proud I am of you. And like, just so you know, you're just one heck of a guy to continue, like to see you just as you carried yourself in this course as a man, as a husband, as a father, as somebody who didn't give up, as somebody who was still coachable, somebody who kept growing, and now watch you go from, hey, trying to break into med device sales to now being a full line rep with one of the largest med device companies and knowing that your abs are going to crush it. It just makes me so happy and so proud. And I just want to say congratulations to you because you earned it. And I know a lot of people are going to watch this and you're going to be an inspiration to a lot of human beings as well.
Well, I can only hope so, but I'm just so grateful and thankful and sense of humility I just thank you, Jacob, because I mean, without your coaching, the nuance that goes into everything, every phone call, all the resources you make available to the community, I mean, it's just massive. There's massive value that you've already put out into the world. So realize that. And you have a ton more to go.
Yeah, but this is what I just always tell people. I'm like, you're just getting started.
Absolutely.
Because just so you all do know, this is actually probably a good time to do it, is because we've now helped thousands of people. We're actually having a big announcement come up here in the next couple of weeks. So can't wait for you all to hear that. But because of that, just so you all know, so you're not shell shocked, is like you can look at other programs and they don't even have 5-7 videos. And just so you know, because I said this, you might see more than 5 or 7 here in the future now because we've done it. But you can come to ours, see our people actually have real results. We do it. It's not even a question anymore. It's just if you're going to come and put in the work and stay committed.
That's it.
And the reason I just say that is because of that, our prices will be going up next month, but it's just so you all know, it's because we also do know even when that happens, you're good. Like the last 3 people we've gotten hired have come up not just in at 100K, way over 100K. And we know the averages. I'm about to run the redo the numbers on everything. And we know the return on investment is still going to be there.
Absolutely.
So I just
easily.
So that's my biggest thing. And just so you guys know, last thing to that, I hope you all know, when I make something, I always ask myself, can somebody get 100x return on investment? Because the reason I'm going to say that is you guys all will look at the price and you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And that could be this. Let me just sit here and tell you, is I think about career longevity, right? Not here. If I get you, like just think about this. You are well over 100K already, but let's just say we got you at 100K and you were in this career for 10 years. You just made $1 million. And that's what people miss. And number one, I just say that's the least amount of money you're ever going to make is your first year, right? But then what people miss is that, and then they can't think long-term because again, they haven't done the rich person, poor person, emotional, what's return on investment, how much something costs that you guys can go watch on other podcasts. But just making sure you guys know when I build something, that's how I build everything. It's because your word is your everything and my product is always me and what we put out. And if our product didn't get the results, we wouldn't have you sitting here.
That's true.
We want to see all the other testimonials doing that. And that's why I'm just sitting here and telling you, like I always make everyone know on the podcast and other things I say, I always just make it clear. I'm not trying to be the Honda Accord. We are the Lamborghini. And why I say that is we're not $2 and we know that, but that's because we get the best return on investment for our people.
Yeah.
And just think about this is go watch a lot of our testimonials and you'll see people in rocking chairs or in their house or just doing it because they loved it so much. They sent it to us. We're not forcing anybody to do it because I want you guys to know is like, even just had a talk with somebody the other day. And when I showed them what we do, they're like, well, that's a lot. Well, I want to make something similar. Do I need to put that much? And I was like, well, do you want to put out a bad product? Because that's only going to reflect onto you.
Absolutely.
And that's my biggest thing is we always just want you guys to get the most. And just so you know, from what I sell, I'm like, I hope they come in and they can't even believe it was that affordable. And so I just want you to know, I appreciate you saying that because it means the world.
There's massive value. And if you invest in yourself, it's hard to lose.
You can't lose, man. Like if you, I want to just touch on that. Every program I've ever got, Alex Hermosi, he talks about this. He's like, even if I got into the worst program, I could learn one thing and I knew that one thing would be worth its money. Like, let's play fun games. If it was 15 grand, do you believe from the one thing you learned that you can make 15 grand over the next 5 years? If so, it actually you probably make more from that one thing. It returns its investment, but nobody thinks that. They think so short term, right?
Yeah. It's always good to step back and look at the big picture. There's so many opportunities in life.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just excited because you're just getting started, baby. So Luis.
Oh yeah, man. I'm going to get started for the rest of my life.
That's it, baby. So Luis, thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks,
man.
Jacob.
Congratulations on breaking into med device sales.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So
Thanks
proud
for
of you.
having me, man.
Of course. And guys, if you are interested in breaking into medical device sales, you can feel free to click the link below. Again, all my goal is just to continue to help you break into med device sales. Like I said, our average person is breaking in around 8.2 weeks at around $94,478. We will be rerunning new numbers. And I, just so you all know, expect that to hopefully be down a little bit with some of the success we've had lately and the numbers to be way higher because like I said, the last 3 people we've gotten placed have well been over 100K. And so I'm really excited about that. But the reason I just say this is, again, always want you to know, don't want $1 from you, don't need $1 from you. We put all the free stuff out here because hopefully it provides you value. But if you are sick and tired of hitting your head against the wall, if you are just like, I don't know and I don't want to guess, because like Luis said, you can just continue to go try on your own, but we'll talk to you in 3 months. Literally just today, one of our guys said we talked to somebody 4 months ago, didn't want to call. They text us today asking for a call to learn more about what we do. Because again, if you don't know what you're doing, it's pretty hard to win the game. So if you guys are serious, you want to break into med device sales, and going back to, I'm not for your average person who's just trying to get a job. I'm the people who want to actually break into med device sales, make a difference, and actually look at that 6+ figure range, because we know we can help you. We show proof every single day of doing it. And if you're ready to invest in yourself and work with a high performance team and be with people that are like Luis and other people in that community, we would love to have a conversation with you. So you can press that link down below. Again, if you can share this with somebody, it would mean the world to us. And if you can press that like and subscribe button, it means the world. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time, keep hustling, keep going after your dreams, and keep having a great week. Peace.